This is going to be a very special episode with a very special guest, and I'm very happy to introduce you to Philipp STUDER. He's an astrophotographer, aviation engineer student, and he loves taking pictures, especially pictures of galaxies and nebula. And of course, you can find all his work and become part of his journey, becoming aviation engineer. And there's more to that also that we're going to cover in the interview. But all that is going to be on Instagram, Facebook, and on his website, pmastro.com. And of course, all these links are going to be included down below, so it's easy for you to follow. But first of all, I just want to say a big thank you, Philip, for joining me today on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's no problem. I'm always happy to connect with like-minded people who have the passion for astrophotography and space exploration. So it's a pleasure. Uh, Look, first question first. Kind of your big bang personal, journey into space exploration, space photography. Can you talk about your background and was there a person or some sort of event that kind of influenced you to follow that astrophotography path?
Not really, nor both of them, not a person, not the event, but it just was like for everyone as a child, you just loved looking at the sky. But then I just like lost this fascination for about well, 10, 15 years. But then in the year 2017, I just like thought, yeah, why not buying a telescope? So I bought just a cheap one on a cheap tripod. And then I looked at the moon, at Saturn, at Jupiter, and that just ignited really the spark for this love again. Because when you see the rings of Saturn with your own eyes, or the moon, the detailed craters and all this stuff, that was really like, yes, I want to do this again. And then a friend of mine had a camera. At this point of time, I didn't have my own camera, so it just borrowed his cam. And then I took the first picture of the moon. Sure, at this time it was quite bad compared to now, but I mean, it's 3 years ago, so you have to have a progress there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then that was really the point where I started it again. Yeah,
Got it. And you never finished since, and the journey
never.
continues from here.
It goes on and
Just
on.
goes on and on and on.
Yes,
Infinite. All
I
right.
hope
So
so.
yeah. Well, it looks like it because if you came back to it and now we had a conversation prior us starting to record and you mentioned that you want to become aviation engineer, you want to pursue some really cool things, you want to become part of cool projects in the future, which of course we're going to discuss a little bit. But it sounds like you're heading towards that path of infinite learning, to about space exploration and everything to it. So that's really cool. So the thing that I wanted to ask you again, by looking at the work, of course, on Instagram right now, and guys, as I mentioned, you can find that on the link below. But like, can you talk about again? Because I'm seeing some of the equipment, but maybe you can get into details, like what type of equipment you're currently working with.
Yeah, sure. So as a scope, I have a Celestron Edge HD, an 8-inch one. It's kind of a big one with a high focal length, so it's more for planetary pictures or for galaxies, like the one in the background here. So this was my first scope also. And then as a mount, I have a Skywatcher EQ6R Pro, which carries about or can carry about 20 kilogram payload. So it's quite a massive one. Sure, it's not the heaviest one, but it's upper class. And as a camera now, I have a CWO AC240 94, which is a cooled camera. So with this means it can cool the sensor down to about 45 degrees below ambient temperature. Then I have different filters like H alpha filter, or just a light pollution filter, which is a necessary thing where I live because I live in it's just a village, but it has a lot of industry. So there's a lot of light there, and to shoot without the filter, it's just a impossible thing. I
Mhm.
can't get anything out of it really. So that's basically my primary setup. I have a second one which I just have now since 2 or 3 months about that, which is a smaller one. Due to Corona, I can't really travel with it, but there was the purpose to buy it so I can travel around the world with the small scope, taking pictures from other places, not just from Switzerland. So yeah, but that's my setup. It's yeah,
That
costs
that
costs a lot, but it is worth it.
Well, of course, it was. I mean, we see the background picture that you have in your room. I mean,
Yeah,
it's worth for that just itself, you know.
yep.
So that's really cool. So again, for the people who are watching, you know, because you know personally yourself, I mean, you know, when you buy the first equipment, the telescope and the mount, it could be a little bit pricey. But I mean, through your personal journey, you know, in astrophotography, maybe you can give some advice for the people who are watching, kind of what will be the minimum price point for somebody who are looking to get involved with astrophotography? Like, what is the minimum budget that they should have, and the type of equipment maybe that they can buy with it?
Hmm. Yeah, well, that depends on if they have already a camera or not, because
Mm.
usually the camera is a um, yeah, not it costs a lot. Depends what camera you have. Sure, you can have a second-hand one, but personally, I don't like this stuff. I just want the new stuff. Or I not right now I have a Astro modified camera. But to start with, I wouldn't start like I did. Just usually you go with a low focal length, like or to start, just go with Milky Way photography. You can make time lapses of the night sky, which is pretty an amazing thing. And so you don't need a lot just to do this stuff. You need a tripod and a camera, and that's it. Later, you can buy more stuff. You can go to a higher focal length. Um, it's like the higher the focal length is, the more difficult it is. So it just steps by step, start with a low one, just the camera and the lens, then buy a small telescope, and maybe in 2 3 years you can go really with a big telescope. At this point of time, you should have learned all the necessary stuff, like polar alignment with the mount, calibration of the mount, all the editing stuff on the pictures. So maybe yeah, in 2 3 years you can go with a big scope. I made the mistake that I just started or already started with a big scope, but then it was just very hard to begin. I would say about the first 30 nights were for nothing or just to learn, but there wasn't really a good picture at this time. So much easier to start low like that, yeah. But maybe 1,000 euros would be good for a good camera, a good lens should be enough for the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice, and it's not the first time that I hear somebody
Yeah.
just like
No,
yourself would recommend to buy a DSLR camera instead of buying a telescope.
exactly.
Because at the end of the day, if you're not gonna like taking the photos of Milky Way, you know, and you will be like, oh, I'm not into astrophotography that much, at least you will have a DSLR camera, you know.
Exactly. You can shoot also animals or other stuff, the nature.
Yeah. Yourself take
With
selfies, you know.
or this. Much
Yeah,
easier.
much easier. Yeah, exactly. So again, I'm looking back to your Instagram account. You have 137 posts, which I'm sure you have maybe some other stuff going on the website, pmastro.com. So the question that I have for you, again, throughout your personal experience since you came back to the game, like 2017, you said, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, since you came back to the game, like what would you consider as your like biggest kind of achievement so far in those 3 years?
Hmm. That's a difficult one. I had a lot of good stuff I did, but I would say my picture of the ISS passing by. That's just because the ISS is very fast and I had to track it manually. and it was just like starting a recording from the camera with about 100 frames per second and trying to get one good picture. And I mean, in the end of the day, I got one picture, but that was really the hardest thing I ever did. The ISS passing by.
Passing by at 80, almost 18,000 kilometers an hour.
Exactly, just
Just
too
passing by
much.
casually.
But
That's
that
awesome.
was really a good, or the biggest achievement I did. I would say so, yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm looking for that picture. Is that on Instagram also? Is it
It
there?
should be, yes.
Should be, should be. We're gonna make sure we're gonna link it down below, of course, with all the
That's
accounts,
good.
so you can guys check it out. The photo, I'm sure it's cool. So listen, the question that I have for you, and I'm sure maybe you get that question from time to time, as astrophotographer, like there's a lot of people now talking about, like they've been talking for years about extraterrestrial kind of human being likes and other planets, and now there's phosphine and Venus, so they were talking
Mhm.
about that. So what is your take and what is your opinion about life in other planets?
I definitely think there is life on other planets or just doesn't matter where, because it's like if you have a look at the universe, it's just that immense, and the Earth is just a little dot somewhere in between. So it's for me it's not logical to be the only habitable planet out there and the only one with really having life. My opinion is we search for exoplanets, for example, and they're in the, like we define it, in the habitable zone of their star, which means it has around like temperatures like around the Earth. But who says that other life forms need those um, parameters? Like maybe other life doesn't need oxygen to live. Who knows? Because just because it's on Earth, it's like this, doesn't mean it has to be somewhere else also like that. So maybe we search in the wrong direction. We search like human being life,
Hmm.
but it could be also something very different. I mean, a bad, nah, it's not a bad example, but in Transformers, the movie, I mean, they aren't human-like, so it can be there also other life, which is not on carbon based life. Who knows in the end? But definitely there has to be something. Just the dimensions are, it's just too far away for us to reach. Um, I like to make calculations by myself. For example, Alpha Centauri, the nearest star next to the sun, it's about 4.3 light years away. And with today technologies, for example, Voyager 1, the spacecraft, it would take about 76,000 years to get there. And
Yeah.
just that's just the nearest star. And
Well,
then,
yeah, we're coming back to the problem, and of course, we're gonna talk about that's maybe that's why one of the like goals for you is to work with a company that we spoke about,
yeah,
before, is to work on a kind of sophisticated propulsion system that will help us to shorten that period of time, because that's one of the reasons we can explore, like not nobody left our solar system except the Voyager 1 and 2 probably,
yes,
I mean, and we still in our like solar system hanging around and looking for clues, and
mhm,
there's all these galaxies around, like, and we never left, so
exactly, yeah,
there's so much more to explore, but again, it's just like we don't have the technology yet, to
hmm
do those type of things. But yeah, I like what you said. I'm definitely on the same page. I mean, if there is something on Venus, even if it's phosphine, I mean, what else that could be, available, in different galaxies, and maybe it could be something, as you said, something more kind of AI based,
yeah.
kind
For
of,
who knows?
robot. Yeah, who knows exactly. So look, that was one of the questions that I'm sure sometimes people ask about,
All
like,
the time.
yeah, somebody existing in different planets. But what is the kind of one thing that people don't ask you, but you personally kind of know? It's like, man, people should know about that. Is there that one thing that you have?
Hmm.
kind of that you would like to share with the people, but they
Yeah,
don't ask that question. It's kind of it's not a popular question maybe.
I would say just the night sky in general. I mean, hardly no one really looks into the stars, and but there's just so much out there. If you just go to a dark place, or do you camp outside, when you look into the sky, there's so much out there, and people just don't know anything about that. Like, or where we come from, how everything started. I mean, the answers is out there. We just have to grab it. But if you just, yeah, you never look up. That's the problem, in my opinion. And people should do this more often. Just ask themselves who they are, what they do, where they come from. That's something I do every night when I'm outside imaging. Just like a philosopher, I would say, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just making thoughts about this stuff.
That's actually very good advice. It's very simple, but
Yeah,
at the same time, like it's the truth. Again,
exactly. Yeah.
because I think it's the reason maybe because part of that is like through evolution we kind of moved from the environment when we used to see the skies, from the small villages when we used to live kind of in a forest type of places. Now we like in city jungle where there's so much light
Yeah,
pollution we cannot even see the sky like properly.
that's it.
So, and that's one of the problems. So, and again, during the COVID, if you're still watching this during the COVID
Yeah.
times, you can travel. I mean, you can travel a place, and there's a lot of people now traveling and exploring, the different sites. And, there's a lot of places they can, because there's a lot of people, that never seen the Milky Way before.
That's one thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, the Milky Way. When I
Exactly.
first saw it with my bare naked eyes, amazing.
Here
Just
you
loved
go.
it.
Here you go. And the other thing I think is the society. We as people kind of I don't know. At the same time, look, the technology is here. I mean, we're talking via Zoom. Now you're watching this episode via YouTube or listening on iTunes, and you're thinking like, "Oh my God, technology! We're getting smarter." But at the same time, we're focused on things instead of the bigger picture, which is like, look at my watch. Like, what? Look at the watch that I'm wearing. Instead of like looking up and like, look, that watch that you have, it doesn't matter if it's a Rolex, Breitling, it's a Patek Philippe. Like, I don't give us, crap,
Yeah,
because there's so much more bigger things in life than just that. It looks cool on Instagram, but it's not even worth paying attention to that when there's all these things happening.
hmm,
So it's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, where people are
it
come
is.
to this kind of point where we're focusing on things that are here instead of looking up, as you said, and looking what's up there. And that's what we want to have the show, because we want to solve that problem one person at a time.
That's good.
So look, we spoke about your projects, and I would love to touch kind of that point, because I think it's very cool what you're looking to do. And so, can you talk personally? What future projects are you looking forward to?
So in general, or astrophotography, or
You you
everything, yeah.
you can talk about every project if you
That's
want to.
good. So, like for me in person, first I have to finish my degree, which still takes 3 years to go. But then I can work in aviation, yeah, in this part, or maybe even space technology. Who knows then? So that's my personal goal, just to work there somewhere to make something which we can use later as humanity, yet to explore more or going somewhere. I mean, right now it's NASA who wants to go back to the moon by 2024. SpaceX with their Mars goals by 2027, I guess. Sure, that's, yeah, maybe it's a bit tight calculated, but I would say in the next 20 years, we're definitely on Mars. So we just need more technology, more, just, yeah, more science to do, and then we go there, no problem. So that's my job goal, like I said. Then in astrophotography, I have some projects also going on. The biggest one is like I want to make a card of a map of the moon, which I take it every day or every night. So every angle of the moon, I take the or image the craters around the terminator where it's bright and the dark side. And in the end, I get thousands of pictures. I put them all together to one big detailed moon map. And when my calculations are correct, it will be around a bit more than 1000 megapixels big. So it's really a huge map. That's something I want to do. And later also Orion Nebula. It's up in the winter, so in about 1 or 2 months I will image it because it was one of the first pictures I took. But at this time, yeah, it was okay the picture, but now I really want to do a good picture. But there's just a lot of objects I would still want to take pictures of. So a lot going on. Just need time.
Exactly, exactly.
That's the
Well,
biggest problem.
like like the astrophotography and space science in general, space technology, like it's a passion of yours. So because people always have this kind of, oh, the time issue, the time, I don't have any
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Well, at the same time, look, there's people like, like Elon Musk and, other people who maybe don't have the resources or the money, still making things happen because it's a passion for them and it's important. It's part of all of their identity. So they're kind of making things happen no matter what. Like it's 24 hours for everybody.
doesn't
So
it?
it's
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
we just have to find the time. But I love what you said about taking the moon map photos, which is cool. In my head, it just popped up. I think the biggest image that we have of the universe so far, I think, is the Hubble wide view angle like
Yeah, yeah.
photo of the Andromeda. I think that was the biggest photo
Guess
ever.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And how
So
big is it?
yeah, I can
Do you
remember
know?
the measurements, but I'm sure maybe you're gonna get close, or maybe not.
Maybe not.
But
I don't think so.
but
No,
it's
no.
awesome. Still thinking about the Hubble. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about now James Webb Telescope, which is
Yeah,
gonna be, I mean, incredible. So I'm looking forward to like next year and like what
the
that is gonna.
launch.
My God, I mean, it's gonna bring so many great images. I just can't imagine.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of great projects to look for in the future for sure. So for the people who are watching, and like what is the journey when it comes to educating yourself as an astrophotographer? I mean, is there some sort of a books, videos, like like the person who was watching and he wants to get involved or she wants to get involved, what would you recommend for that person when it comes to kind of consuming information? Like what type of things to look at and look for?
So basically, most of the information I got by asking other photographers. For example, you can check this out on Instagram, astrocaller. He lives in the UK and he really helped me a lot with if I had any issues with a program. I just could have asked him and he answered all this stuff. Also with on TeamViewer, he made some settings for me. And also, yeah, there were hundreds of other photographers helping me out with just when I asked a little question, they just got back and wrote to me. So most of the information just by other people. I mean, and on Instagram, everyone wants to help you. If someone sends a message to me like, "Hey, I want to take a picture of the moon. How can I do it?" Everyone helps each other, so that's really the best thing on Instagram. But then also some books. I have a book. It's called Just Simple Astrophotography by Thierry Legault. It's a French astrophotographer. And it's really every aspect of astrophotography, if it's Milky Way, galaxies, or just stars, whatever. Every single bit he explains in every detail. So it's a really helpful book. And then another one is Inside PixInsight. PixInsight is the program I'm using to edit my pictures. And it's just like if I don't know anything about this certain tool on PixInsight, just grab the book, look where it is, and there's about one page explanation how it works, what settings are there, how to tweak them to get the best image. And it's also this book. And another book which I currently am reading now, it's Handbook of Space Technology. It's just the overall view of space technology on mission management, how to build spacecrafts, the satellite components, all this stuff, propulsion systems. That's really a a book for the ones who are interested in space technology. It's quite big. It has around 900 pages, but it's really interesting. If you're interested in space technology, that's a book you have to read because it's really from the start of a mission to the end. It's
Got it.
all
And sorry,
together.
what is the name again of the book?
Handbook of Space Technology.
Got it. Got it. So I think so. I'm just gonna leave a note for myself because
Yeah.
that is awesome. But yeah, I think that's probably gonna be one of the questions in an interview when you're gonna go for the SpaceX. That will be, have you read the book?
Then
People will be
yes,
like,
I
what
did.
book? The Handbook of Space Technology. Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
So
Good.
yes.
Go ahead.
What's on page 400, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 That is cool. That is awesome. So look, I mean, so much great information. Like I still, because I look, guys and girls, whoever is watching this episode, the reason we do this episodes is just to bring the awareness about the guests, just to scratch the surface of their expertise, the things they're working on, the projects, what their opinions and thoughts. But at the end of the day, all these links are down below for you to make sure that you reach out to these people, get in contact, make connections, make friends. Because at the end of the day, like I say that in every interview, and you hear that all the time, like when it comes to space exploration, space science, technology, astrophotography, it's a collaborative thing. If we want to go further, faster, we all have to kind of become, this huge network of people who just, pitching ideas and, putting things in place, because it's a collaborative thing if we want to go faster, life and just do things, on a bigger scale. And that's why I recommend to connect with you, with this man, and make sure that you text him, let him know where you're coming from. You're coming from us, and just to say hi, and make sure to ask the questions if you want to get involved with astrophotography as well. So Philip, it's been a really great time. I had a interesting conversation. Again, I love the things that you're talking about, life and other planets. And again, I'm on the same page with you. And again, I love what you're looking to accomplish in the future, when it comes to working with the SpaceX and astrophotography. So that's really awesome. So I really appreciate you being today on the show.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. It was a pleasure.
That's no problem. Guys and girls, one thing as always, I want to ask you if you can share this episode with a friend of yours who has the passion, or who might want to get explore, the space exploration, astrophotography, and get some valuable tools, tips, strategies on how to start his or her journey. Make sure to pass this interview along to them. Philip, I really appreciate you again for being on episode. And as always, I will see you on the next episode, and keep exploring.